This is the build-up of a warm deck flat roof explained without any truss at the end. So you have your joist, that'll be normally a 9x2, could be 7x2, or it could be a web joist depending on your span. You have your fall piece, so that throws the fall into the roof. Then on top of that, you do your plywood deck. We have OSB done on all of this. So the reason for this plywood deck is to support this vapor barrier. This vapor barrier is a bitumen vapor barrier, and it travels underneath the insulation and it goes up, and you cut it off 20 mil above the insulation. You don't let it run on up and across, because we have to cut it off to stick our membrane on this point. So when this is fitted, this seals the roof. So this keeps this safe. There's no dampness goes into this. There's no water. So it's important to do this stuff on dry days, that you don't be getting this wet or your insulation wet, or especially your top deck wet. So when your vapor barrier is fitted, and that travels, like I said, 20 mil above the insulation, you fit your insulation. But the beauty of this is this will seal the building. So you can do this and leave it for weeks, months, and your building sealed. And generally you do this and wait for dry weather, because we're in Ireland, it's hard to get 2 days together. So you fit your insulation, and when you fit your insulation, immediately you fit your top deck. Now your top deck can be done with OSB in 8x2 sheets. It gives a nice flush tongue and groove together, or marine plywood. Try and get these joints nice and flush. Okay, so when this is fitted, membrane guys need to come in, that's us, fairly soon, and fit this. If it's a case that there's a day or so between this fitted and this, cover the roof as best you can. Don't let this get wet, because water gets into this, it swells up, it gets down there, it never leaves, and that's not a good situation. So onto the membrane. This membrane is a Resitrix membrane. The best membrane I've come across. I'm certified to do quite a few membranes, but this one, in my opinion, is the pick of them all. Reason being, it's uncomplicated. So when I say that, with some of the membranes, you have to fold metal up along the wall here and out, poke welds here, difficult to weld, then into corners. You have extra detail and welding in the corners. This stuff, none of that crack. You just fold that, turn the folds up the walls into the corners. No welding, no messing, no splitting the membranes. It's a full seal. What we do is let this across up the parapet wall and across the top. That gives you a full seal at that point without any breaks at all. So completely waterproof, watertight, real good job, and very uncomplicated. Don't throw complications into these roofs if you don't need to. So we'll go on to the parapet. So we'll just go back here. At this point here, this would be the highest point of the roof. The furthest away from the gully is the highest point of the roof. So you keep minimum 100 mil. So that up there must be 100 mil or more. I have it written there. So from the top of that plywood to this point here must be 100 mil. And that allows, if there's any falls of snow or anything like that, water doesn't get up. But it also allows good clearance here for this strip trim. If you're doing metal capping, you have good clearance for that drip trim. So back round here, on the top of the wall, there needs to be a fall. So don't put this, just screw a bit of plywood onto that. Keep your penny gap boarding or your marine plywood, whatever you're using on the outside, 10 mil above. It's 10 mil on this. If it's a wider wall, if it's a block wall with double leaf, it needs to be more. But keep a good fall on this area here. So any water sitting in that runs off it. Okay. So back round to the build up on the outside. You have your penny back gap boarding or your marine plywood, your breathable membrane, good quality, and then you have your standing seam fascia. So your standing seam fascia, this is the standing seam here. You have a drip trim nail down here, soffit underneath, drip trim here, and your panel, as you can see here, gets wrapped around that drip trim. We do it on the curves there, so it's wrapped around that drip trim, so any water just runs straight off. travelling up here, we turn these panels out here. So if water blows in on a stormy day, it blows up here and it gets blocked at that point. It can't get any further. So that turnout prevents any water from getting past that point. So you have your drip trim on the outside, drip trim on the inside, and then you wrap your capping right round the whole lot. So that's a full seal. There's no nails showing. And on the end of these cappings is a standing seam. So that stands up 20 mil and gets wrapped around. So no water can penetrate through the capping. And you have this as a backup anyway. So this creates the first full seal. Now, I'll just go through the gully. On this roof, as I said, there's no truss at all on this roof. I'll just go back to that in a moment. You have your gully in here on the very top of the roof. Now this gully, you need to sink it down. We've exaggerated this one. It's down about 6 mil. This gully needs to be down about 3 millimeters below the face of this plywood. So our membranes run down and drop into this. So there's no water obstructing. If these are fitted high, the water gets blocked at this point. This point certainly is not where you want to have water hanging about. You need the water flowing straight out and in. These are particularly good gullies, these ones. So, like I said, your membrane goes up, goes across the top, gets folded across the top here. Generally, we would put a bit of Resi Tricks in the corner here to lift this up so no water lies in this area. All the water is down in the gully, no pooling. Same here, our membrane turns up the top. That's a parapet wall detail there. So back to this truss. So if you want to create a trough on the roof, what's generally done is the insulation gets cut off at that point and there's a drop there, and then water goes into a void here and travels down and into some sort of a gully down here. Now that's tight welding, it's complicated welding, you're welding in tight areas. And I much rather this detail here where the water just runs into one of these. There's no steps and you're not breaking your insulation either. So that's your parapet wall explained. That's the end of your parapet. And I just want to show you an alternative detail. So if you do these roofs, design these roofs with no parapet, the water just runs straight off. So what you do is you fit your insulation right out to the edge where it's needed. You run your vapor barrier across and you let it out there, and you turn your vapor barrier back there to protect the underside of this plywood, because you want to let this plywood out 30 millimeters past this blocking board. This board goes in to block the insulation. So plywood goes out 30 millimeters and your PVC fascia goes up. You fix on a drip trim like this there. This works with Resi Tricks because we can weld the Resi Tricks onto this. So we fix this drip trim with stainless steel nails along here, and then the Resi Tricks membrane comes across and gets welded there. So the water runs directly off the roof and straight into a gutter without getting blocked by parapets. I like this detail here. Now, I want to explain falls on the roof, and this is more important than anything. It's important to get water off these roofs fast. That's more important than details, membranes, troughs, so you don't have water lying around. So in this piece, this is a meter model. So we've 20 mil we've just cut at 90 mil. It goes to 70 mil here. So in a meter, you have 20 mil. That's a good fall. So at 70 mil here, we want to fall the water from this point to this point. So these joists are in at 16-inch centers. That's 16 or 405 mil. So at 70 mil there, your next one drops by 7 mil on each joist. So this one's 63. Take 7 away to the next one's 56. And then so on. So whatever the length of your roof, you keep dropping 70 mil every time, except for the last one. And the reason being, if we keep the last one higher than the one before it, it throws the water out of the corner, because these gullies aren't designed to fit tight to the corner. You always have an area in the corner here We keep these gullies 50 mil away for working on membranes. So what happens is the water flows down, and at this point it stops and goes into the gully. It doesn't travel past the gully and into the corner. That's important.